Hello, I'm Dr. Johnny Wilkinson. I'm an intensivist from the UK, and today I'm delighted to bring you this much anticipated review of the VScan Air wireless device from GE Healthcare. Now, this is exciting from the point of view that there are four of us giving you the review, so it's not just my opinion, and I think that's important. It is important also to say that the four of us are involved with GE, and we do give advice, and we have received honoraria for them. I just want to make that clear from the start. It doesn't influence this review, but I just wanted everyone to be aware. So myself, Dr. Ashley Miller from Shrewsbury, Dr. Marcus Peck, and Dr. Amit Power are going to be reviewing the device. The first three of us are POCUS experts and certainly more than enthusiasts, I would say, and Dr. Amit Power is a regional anaesthesia expert and he's current president of RA UK. So hopefully a nice balanced opinion set. Part one will be us unboxing the device and explaining how to get yourself set up with it and downloading the app and so forth and how it operates. The second part, the part which everyone wants to see really probably, is the clips and what we've found. And then the final part of this, and where we can, we're going to have a direct side-by-side comparison with a Philips Lumify device, which in our opinion is probably the gold standard and number one for image set for the portable devices. So we're comparing where we can. We're going to have Amit Power's review of the device to follow that, and then we will close the section with our overall opinion and score. So we do hope you enjoy this and watch on. So here is the box itself, and you can see once opened we've got this charger, which is one of the Anker wireless chargers. So there you go, that comes in there, and we'll open that up in a second. And beneath this, obviously lots of packaging, etc. You've got some documentation, and you've got this rather nice looking case, which is very Apple iPhone-esque actually. So we're going to take this out and have a butcher's inside and see what we've got here. You can see there's the seal on there. So we'll take that off and we can crack on with unwrapping. So as they'd say in the trade, I have broken the seal and we're going to open the box, and it's a magnetic cardboard case. And in here we have a lovely, and you can see the size comparison to my hand, got a lovely hard case with VScan on, clearly the device in question. And let's open it up again. Sorry about this one-handed business, but I wanted to get the review out quick to you. There is the probe. Very, very nice. A nice light device, ergonomically pleasing to hold. And you've got the curvilinear probe on one end, and the linear on the other, and there's a power on-off button at the top here and a functionality button below, I presume anyway, but we'll get playing with it and see what it's all about. There's also a charging button here, charging dock for a plug, but I'm not sure you're going to need that because obviously it's a wireless charger. So there we are, but very light indeed actually, and quite small. So you've done well there, G, and you've also, versus the VScan and VScan Extend, got a larger footprint linear probe. I think this is going to be great for blocks and for vascular access and for superficial lung and pleura. And then the other device here obviously is going to be great for abdominal, subcostal viewing and various other applications for deeper nerve blocks and stuff. I think this probe for me probably is going to swipe the market for the ED dock perhaps, but I could certainly see uses for me running down to the ED with this to do looks at abdominal aortas and doing fast scanning and things like that, and definitely for nerve blocks in my practice. So yeah, there you go. Okay, so we've plugged in the wireless charger, and I suspect this thing would probably charge on most wireless chargers, not just this one that's actually supplied by another company. But here's the probe, and you simply take it, plonk it down, and you will see it light up there, and it will then give us an indication it's charging, presumably. There we go. And I think what's likely to happen is that these LEDs under here will change colour to green when it's charged. Obviously red's pretty empty, and amber at the moment. It's kind of an ambery green colour at the minute, which probably means its battery's about half full. So it's as simple as that. And I think this port here is to plug that in if you want it actually to be wired charged. But why would you? Right, so now the probe is charging and things, obviously there's the interface for the probe, which is your very own device, and that can be Apple or Android, I believe. So the next thing GE have told me to do is to go onto the App Store and download the app for the device, and then set login up and so forth and so on. So I'm going to do that now. I'll take a couple of screenshots and whatnot and put those into the video for you. And then we can run through the functionality and get cracking with the scanning using the VScan Air. Right, so let's get down to it. The VScan Air, here it is, and this is all taken from GE's website. You can see the pricing, €3.990 or thereabouts in cost. So this is the device, and obviously it shows an iPhone Apple-based interface here. So what are we looking at? We're looking at a high-performance system in a pocket-sized solution, as GE would say. So the aim of this wireless probe is to allow you to do whole-body ultrasound. And it is small, as I mentioned, and as you've seen in previous images, and very eminently handheld, very light, and it has, as I say, linear transducer and the curvilinear as well, and you can see the measurements on the screen. Now, as far as it goes, it has B mode and colour flow. Disappointingly for me, no pulse wave Doppler, which other wireless devices do have now, but never mind. I'm sure this is an area for development for GE for the wireless market. It's got the curved transducer for deep scanning, and linear and frequencies are all shown. Now the battery claim, and it's a bit like your electric cars here, the range as it were, so I like to call it the range on the probe. The range on the probe, 50 minutes scanning, and recharge time 75 minutes. This is quick, and I've noticed that the charging is really zip quick on this thing, and an EQI compatible wireless charger indeed it will work on. It's drop tested. I have accidentally dropped the device, which I won't show you the video of, but there we go, it is fine, and it withstands temperature extremes. Scan this because you can go to a very nice VR sort of tour around with GE on their website, so do this, it's quite interesting. So going and getting on the App Store, put in VScan in your search and you will see the VScan Air app appears. Download that and it will start to do its stuff for you. Then what happens is you open the app and it will search for the probe, and it's really quite quick. The probe is found within seconds, and then it activates itself and starts to initialize. And then you are presented with your quite nice palatable interface here with the probe charge top left there, temperature, the wireless signal, and so forth and so on. And it is very intuitive via this menu selection system. Very nice images of all of your body systems with the curvilinear and the linear setting. And this is what it looks like on the screen, ready to scan, minus the ultrasound jelly, of course. So that is as easy as it is to download the app and start using it. Okay, so let's have a look at the actual clips. Let's take a look at lung, first and foremost. What's the VScan Air produce for us here? Well, this is the linear setting, and you can see on this image there's some beautiful clear pleura sliding left to right, definition of some A-line profiling below as well, and clearly the rib and the rib there, so quite nice. Again, same picture, you've got a semblance of A-line profiling and clear shimmering pleura. Ever so slightly grainy though. On the left side, courtesy of Ashley Miller, thanks again, we have the Lumifies version, and you can see clear shimmering pleura and very tight and clear definition of an A-line, rib and a rib. Compare it to our VScan Air, and Ashley's put this on the vascular setting, you'll note down here, but you do see lovely clear rib definition and the sliding pleura and the A-line below. Lumify on the left again and the VScan Air on the right, and you can notice very distinct A-line profiling here, and again this time it's on the abdominal setting just down there, ever so slightly grainy and dark in appearance, but clear A-line profiling visible there as well. Here is the PLAPS point on the right side, and you can see very clear definition of the liver and the diaphragm down here, normal lung there, so that's a pretty good and tight image. And again, this side we've got some pathology on this because there is some consolidated lung here coming in on the left hand side this time. Here's the diaphragm, so that's the left PLAPS point, and again we tend to favour abdominal setting for the PLAPS points in the chest, but that's a very nice image. Again, left side is the lumify, and the right is comparing the same image. You will notice here very distinct lung curtaining going on there as it slides into view. This is the liver and here's the diaphragm. Quite a crisp image from the lumify there, and you can see, I reckon, slightly better definition potentially of the vital organ below here, and quite a lot of graininess where the lung curtain comes in there, but you can clearly see some of the pleura sliding over the top on the VScan Air's image. Okay, so that was lungs. Let's go on to heart now and see what we have here. And thanks to Marcus Peck for many of these beautiful images he's got. And look at these, they're fabulous. So we've got a normal long axis image. He's put some colour over the aortic valve there. Very nice. Short axis image at papillary level. You see the RV, the LV there. And this is Marcus's son, I think, who's 11 years old. So they're very nice images. And you will notice this is the curvilinear probe. What it does is it narrows its sector phase through to give these lovely cardiac images. So that's a very, very nice image as well. Here he's moving from mitral valve level and up through to aortic, ever so distinctly there. And the same here's aortic valve level here, tricuspid valve there, and the outflow and pulmonary valve here. And what Marcus has done here is put some colour flow on, just showing an ever so slight amount of TR coming through there. So they're lovely images. Again, beautiful images coming through from the narrowed phase on this curvilinear side of the probe to produce the cardiac images. But what Marcus has done here is showing us an RV inflow image, and you can see the tricuspid valve there. And what he's done here is put colour on. This is an outflow image going through the pulmonary valve into the pulmonary arteries, and a bit of pulmonary regurg going on there. And the same thing going on here. And down here we've got colour flow on the tricuspid valve for the inflow, and again an outflow image with a bit of colour flow on it as well. So they're really nice. Now we're moving on to the subcostals. Very clear subcostal image set, very good for the ED when you go and do fast scanning. You can see the hepatic veins here, and you can see the right side and the left side of the heart there in the subcostal view. Here's a lovely IVC grinning away at us, and the RA connection. Marcus has measured the area of the LV here on the short axis view. He's also measured an IVC at the level of the hepatic vein. And there's another nice subcostal and almost a bicaval view coming in here, IVC into RA. So very, very nice. These are some of mine fiddling around. Again, same sort of stuff, but this is the short axis view, narrowed phase. And here is actually me just fiddling about and getting an apical view, again, cardiac setting. So this is really clear. And this is a subcostal view, as you've seen before, but slightly zoomed. So very nice. Now we've got a lumify image just to compare. Here's the subcostal, ever so slightly faded looking and a bit grainy and not as clear, I don't think, as the VScan Air's version on this side, which is darker. And I will say that you tend to get the darker images from the VScan Air. Okay, so abdominal, we've got loads of these because we went a bit to tone on this. And again, if the left side shows a Phillips lumify, it's courtesy of Ashley Miller, and here we are. This is Ashley demonstrating his gastric antrum, liver, and this is the abdominal aorta down here. And here's the version from the VScan Air, and I would argue that here on the still, the lumifies is ever so slightly more crisp, and again the same stuff visible on here from the VScan Air. Here we have the pancreas, and you can see the pancreas up here, and you've got the splenic vein showing with the vertebral body shadow at the back, and you've got the SMA, the abdominal aorta there, the IVC, and there's a portosplenic confluence coming over the top, so that's nice. Look at this one, pretty crisp, but very dark again from the VScan Air with the same structures visible. Here we have a view of the hepatic veins coming up here, which is nice from the lumify. And on this side the same, and I would argue I prefer this one to the one on the left here. It's just a personal taste, and I think this is what it boils down to. It's a very personal thing as to which image you like, the lighter or the darker, but very crisp on both. Now, this is the notorious CBD, common bile duct. There's a beautiful image of it with its very echogenic walls and the porta hepatis there and the portal vein coming through with the liver on this side. So really nice, and this is a difficult structure to visualise, and the VScan Air does it beautifully as well. You can see the CBD coming off, porta hepatis, portal vein coming through there. So really nice images to see there. But you do see a difference between the Lumify and the VScan Air. Now this is it with colour on, and you can see there is no flow in the CBD, which is what we want to see. Hepatic arterial flow and venous flow there, almost demonstrating portal triad in long axis. And the same thing here, but just on a still from the Philips Lumify. So very crisp though. And here we've got a kidney, beautiful here from the Lumify. You can see the calyx very nicely. The pyramids aren't so visible, and the cortex isn't as clear there. And it's almost the reverse image, isn't it? Because this very echogenic centre of the kidney and calyx here, and the almost hypodense looking cortex of the kidney on the VScan Air's version, but very clear images of the kidney there. And here we have the right, this is probably the left actually, the left upper quadrant, the spleen and the kidney and the diaphragm here, demonstrated very nicely. And this is just me plopping a bit of colour on the left kidney, and you can see the venous and the arterial flow into the cortex. And this is the point where we would do venous Doppler, arteriovenous Doppler for VEXA scoring on the kidney and the resistive index. But this is really, really clear to see cortical flow like this. Takes a very good probe. And here we've got me just fiddling around again and demonstrating an IVC, but with an ORA connection. But you can see it's very clear, vital organ, liver above and some kidney coming through there. And here we have again me just demonstrating flip through and fanning to demonstrate the hepatic structures, veins and portal veins to show there. Similar kind of thing there, just to demonstrate the clarity. A bit of rib shadowing coming through to interfere with the image, but they're very crisp, the abdominal images, and actually I would say arguably ever so slightly more crisp than even the Philips Lumify. Here we've got the liver at the top here, a beautiful view of the abdominal aorta pulsing away. Wish we'd added colour, but we didn't, but there you go, you can see it very nicely there. And here is my vertebral body and the shadow coming through. Here is my IVC, my abdominal aorta there at the umbilical level. Bit of colour flow on there for you, and I know it's blue, but it is the abdominal aorta there. Some of the more minor vessels coming through as well. And another one just taken in long axis, flip round 90 degrees on the probe, and you can see the aortic pulsation, a bit of venous flow below there. Onto the nerves. And what do we see here? Well, it's really good for regional anaesthesia, as Amit Power will tell you a bit later on, and for needling. And here's my median nerve, a very clear pyramidal structure with the individual fascicles of the nerve and the fascia surrounding it, and this is at mid-forearm level. Again, same image, just taken slightly lower down in the wrist. You can see the median nerve again very, very clearly. Flip the probe through 90, and this is just the long axis view of the same nerve coming through there, and you can see multiple fascicles coming through at this point, so very nice and very clear. Here is my radial head, just there at the wrist level, upper forearm, and here is the radial nerve and its corresponding arterial structures. These are the radial nerves, and quite echogenic, and the arterial structures in there, so really nice radial nerve blocks. Over and around the radial head, same structure here, radial nerve, head of radius down there. And this is courtesy of Amit Power. This is infraclavicular block. Here's Peck major at the top, Peck minor, and here is the artery, and Amit's coming through here with his needle and placing the block around the nerve fascicles around here. So that's a really nice clear image and a demonstration of needling using the VScan Air, so very nice. And here's Amit doing a popliteal block. Here's the popliteal artery pulsing away just behind the knee, and you can see here that you do get quite a lot of acoustic dropout below the needle and a bit of interference from it, but nonetheless he's doing a nice popliteal block for us just there with the VScan Air. Now onto Vascular, because it's going to be very good and very convenient for vascular scanning. And here we've got just an image of my radial artery taken in long axis, top there, very clear and very easy for needling for arterial line placement. And here's colour flow placed on it, so it's going to be a really good device for that. Same thing, we're just showing arterial and venous structures here, but in the short axis. And here is Marcus Peck demonstrating measurement of the abdominal aorta. And you can see the cross-sectional area there demonstrated nicely with the device. And again, the single diameter measurement of the artery there as well, very clear. And now we have a scan of the axillary artery, just there it is visible with all of the nerves surrounding it for an axillary block, so very nice and clear within the muscle bellies. And some colour flow over the femoral artery and the femoral vein, just frozen there. And this is Ashley compressing at the saphenofemoral junction, and you can see this is the technique we would use to assess for deep venous thrombosis. The devices can be very handy for that as well.
Hello there, my name is Amit Power. I'm a consultant anaesthetist and a regional anaesthesia practitioner. I'm here for a couple of minutes to talk to you about this amazing piece of kit, which is the GE VScan Air, a wireless ultrasound probe. I should say at the outset that I have in the past worked with GE and received honoraria for teaching, but on this occasion I was provided with the probe to have a play with, but I was not asked to give a review or paid to give a review, so whatever I say is what I honestly feel. So let's start off with the pros. When I received this piece of kit, it was very easy to take out the pack, to unbox it, to connect it up to a wireless charger and download the app from the App Store. And I connected it up to my iPhone and to my iPad. So that was straightforward to do. This is a lovely piece of kit. It's light. It has on one side a linear transducer, on the other side a curved array transducer. So anything that is able to pack that technology into a piece of kit here, I think is very clever. I was then able to interact with the probe and generate the images that I wanted, and I had a play by scanning most of my family members, and then I used it in clinical practice. So when I was using it to perform regional anesthesia, I simply put a probe cover around this and was able to generate images in most of my patients and perform straightforward, uncomplicated regional anesthesia with decent quality images. And I was actually able to generate a nice enough image of my needle, and the blocks were successful. So those were all the pros. So lovely, lightweight, dual functionality of the probe. You're able to generate an image, perform a block without any issues, and you really do benefit from not having any wires. So that was all the pros. What about the cons? So I think, so one of the issues I had is relating to the wireless connectivity. For some reason, despite deleting and reinstalling the app, this app does not work on my phone. So I had some issues with that. I've managed to make it work on an iPad mini, however. Next, if you're using the probe for a while, you get a warning that says it's getting hot. I haven't used it to the point when it stopped working, but I've certainly used it long enough for it to say that the probe is warming up and one needs to be careful. Secondly, the nerve preset isn't quite optimal. In fact, I found the image a little bit grainy. So the way I dealt with that was by either using the musculoskeletal setting or using the small part setting, which for most of the blocks I was performing in slim, straightforward patients, I generated more than adequate images and I was able to perform the image without any issue. On occasion, there's a little bit of a delay. The refresh rate may be a little bit slow, or I'm unable to sort of adjust the focal point to image something slightly deeper in the screen. The other thing that can be an issue is there's a little power button here, and when you're holding the probe, you put your finger on the probe, if you're scanning for a long period of time, you can put pressure on that power probe, and when I was using it recently, it kept freezing. I suspect there's a potential to also turn the probe off if you're not careful. And very occasionally, if I then use the pad for something else, you then have to re-establish a connection. So in summary, I think it's clever technology. It generates images that are impressive, bearing in mind it's not a wired probe. Do I think it would replace my existing cart-based machine or point-of-care machine? No. I think if you haven't got an option, this is definitely something to go for. It'll all depend upon price point, however. But I don't think at the moment the nerve preset is correct or it's imaging quite at the level that I would to use it as my sole technique. But impressive technology, and I look forward to seeing what else they have in store for us. Also interested to hear what else Johnny's review says. Many thanks. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Marcus Peck. I'm here where I hide away in my basement. I'm here to tell you about this fantastic machine that I've had, this device, which I've been using for about a week or so. It's obviously the GE VScan Air. And when I first looked at it, I thought, you know, with just a linear probe at one end and a curvilinear probe at the other, how on earth is that going to deliver decent cardiac ultrasound? But I have to say, I'm really quite impressed with it. The images I've been getting have been really quite good, and you know, obviously we're using the curvilinear end, but with the cardiac preset, which narrows the sector width and you know, and has the right kind of settings to get really, you know, really good images. And I've been really impressed. You have to keep your phone in landscape and not portrait, which helps open up the field and gives you all the width of it. If you have it in portrait, it will give you a slightly narrowed sector, and that's how images are recorded. But if you remember to turn it, it really gets a fantastic, a really fantastic window. And also some of the features on it, like the colour Doppler, I think is as good as any cart-based machine, certainly that anything GE has ever made. And I'm really impressed with it. I actually managed to, I was scanning my son today, and I've sent some images to Johnny. He'll have those in his presentation. But you know, I managed to pick up TR and PR in my 11-year-old son, which, you know, it shows how sensitive and how good the colour Doppler is. It's really nice the way you can use the screen to zoom in, to freeze it and measure. It's very intuitive, you know, and it's all, you know, I've been using it on an iPhone, and I've been able to do that really easily with one hand, no problems. So I'm pretty impressed with this device actually as a cardiac device, and so some of my earlier fears I think I've been resolving. You know, it did get warm, and I was scanning for a solid 42 minutes with colour Doppler on for over a third of that time, and I was also using the cardiac settings, and that really does cause this to warm up at its most warm rate. But I got all the way through 42 minutes. I got one warning sign towards the end of that, and I suppose if I'd have carried on, it may have timed out on me. But certainly 42 minutes was more than enough to get all the windows I wanted. So the images I recorded were my son, he's 11. Parasol windows obviously were nice. I couldn't get any apical windows because I suspect he hasn't got any. He's got small rib spaces, and I think any probe I would have used might have struggled with that. But I got really nice parasternal and subcostal windows, which you'll see. Yeah, I've been really impressed with it, and I think that you know, this has really got something to offer. I took it to work. I needed to have a difficult arterial line, which it was straight out of the bag, and job done really easily. No faffing around trying to get a machine into theatre. And also, I got a call through by a colleague who was looking after a patient with a nephrectomy. She was head down, lots of breasts, lots of monitoring and gowns and what have you. And I was able to, oh, by the way, in that operation, one of the problems it can do is it was a laparoscopic procedure, and sometimes air tracks up into the chest, and you can have pneumothoraces. And obviously, this patient desaturated, and my colleague called me in, and I was just able to whip it out in 2 minutes, speed it up. And of course, because it's so small, it was really easy to get in to the environment under the drapes, no hassles, and I got 2 perfect views of normal pleura sliding. So, you know, it's very portable, it's very easy to handle, it's not heavy, it's not too big. I could get good cardiac windows with it, and it lasted. So I did scanning for 42 minutes. Got a bit warm, but I still had half a tank of battery life left in it. So I suspect it would have carried on for quite a long time. So yeah, for all of those reasons, I think this is great. And yeah, I look forward to hearing other opinions too. But that's my first review on the VScan Air.
the final verdict on the VScan Air portable ultrasound wireless device. So we've gauged it and judged it on portability, the battery life, the quality of the image, the overall cost of the device, given an overall score. So what did Amit Power, regional anaesthesia expert, make of the device? From a portability point of view, 5 out of 5. A battery life, 4 out of 5, so you get a good 50 minutes, 5-0. Image quality, he said 3 out of 5, which is interesting, but I do think that relates to the needling and the real-time observation of needling for regional anaesthesia, because I did discuss there was some acoustic dropout there and a slight graininess to the image. But the cost undoubtedly and unarguably should I say, really good. It's a very, very competitive price at €3,990 excluding VAT. So sub £5,000 for the probe and all it does. Overall score from Amit, 16 out of 20. Now what about me? Well, I gauged it 5, a 4, a 4 and a 5. For me, very portable and extremely ergonomically pleasing device, very light and very, very easy to use. With the added benefit of the wirelessness of it. And I noticed, and I'm picky with wireless devices, the dropout rate, the refresh rates, all excellent on this device. And I have said before, many of the, for example, the Chinese market equivalent devices, yes, they are there, they do pulse wave Doppler and things, but the quality just is not quite there. The dropout rate is too high and the pixelation is too high. Refresh rates are too slow for me, but the VScan Air seems to crack that, and you've got GE and their technological development backing, which obviously has bred quality in this device. So they've done very well. So for me, it was an 18 out of 20. Ashley Miller, similar, 5, 4, 4 and 5. Now again, 50-minute battery life, and as Marcus pointed out, the device does get a bit hot. Yes, granted, but that's with scanning for about 40 minutes. So that's quite some time. And also the battery didn't seem to run out. It just goes on and on and on. There's still half a tank left, as Marcus said, even after that length of scanning. So Marcus rated it 5, 4, 4 and 5. So that's 18, 18, 18 and 16 out of 20. All very good scores across the board. In fact, that equates to a total score of 17.5 out of 20 for the VScan Air, which I think is extremely good. And I think we all take our hats off to GE for what they've managed to achieve with this probe. It is wireless. Yes, it doesn't do quite what, for example, the Butterfly probe does. That's a wired device. But then, really, are we going to get a wireless device that will have the multifunctionality that the Butterfly does? Certainly not yet. But also, there are things that are in development with GE. We believe, and also I do firmly believe, that the pulse wave Doppler capability of this device is there. They just haven't added it yet. So let's look for some software upgrades and let's look for some future functionality on the probe. Are they going to release a phased array probe equivalent? Not sure, but I think they could. But then would that take the delivery away from what this probe has achieved? Because actually, with the cardiac narrowed phase setting on the curvilinear probe, it really does do almost everything you want it to do. So is there a need for a phased array probe? Not sure. Don't think there is. So well done, GE, and I would suggest that everybody goes out, tries it before they buys it, as they say on the street. Thanks for listening to the review, and we do hope it's been very helpful.